Hey, what's up guys? Austin Devine here with my next video. I wanted to check in. In one of my recent Instagram reels, I mentioned how I wanted to share about one of the most challenging things that I've been going through as of late. And honestly, guys, one of the biggest challenges as someone who is totally blind is personally, it's my sleeping habits. Now, I can't say that all blind people struggle with this. However, I do know that there's a disorder called non-24. And basically what non-24 is that when somebody's totally blind and they have no light perception, their internal clock, their circadian rhythm can get thrown off. Because your internal clock, your circadian rhythm, one of the biggest component to keep it regulated is sunlight. So for someone who's blind and can't see the sun, sometimes it can be a little challenging to keep your internal clock on track. So for me, I think I've been struggling a little bit with that lately. Now, what I read online is that you can have stints where your sleeping habits are incredible. You go to bed at a certain time, wake up at a certain time. But after having a few good weeks, sometimes you can have a couple bad weeks. And I think that's really what I've been experiencing is I don't consistently struggle with my sleeping habits. But there are some weeks that it can be a battle, like super challenging. Like a few weeks ago when I was really struggling with this, what would happen was I would go to bed at 10:30, 11 p.m. And then I would wake up either an hour or two later, wide awake with no ability to fall back asleep. And the only thing that would help was to get out of bed and do something for a few hours, and then eventually go lay back down, and then eventually I'd fall back asleep. So for example, I'd go to bed at 11, wake up around 12:30 or 1. I'd lay there for about 45 minutes to an hour, hoping that I'd fall back asleep. But then finally at around 1 or 2 a.m., I'm like, you know what? This isn't working. So I get out of bed. And then after I get out of bed, I'm just kind of hanging out. Sometimes I pray, read my Bible, watch a few videos, whatever it may be. And then finally around 5, maybe 6 a.m., I'll go lay back down and knock back out for a couple hours. But as most of us, I have a job. I have a daily schedule. So sleeping in until 9 or 10 a.m. is just not an option when my sleep the night before was really bad. So end up, going to bed at 6 or so, 5 or 6, and then waking right back up at 7 or 8 so I can get moving on my day. So obviously it's been a little challenging, okay? So I wanted to share with you guys a few things that I've personally been doing to go after getting better sleep to the best of my ability. And there's a few things that I've been going after. And honestly, it's been helpful. Now, I did just travel to London and Paris for a church conference, and jet lag plus, my circadian rhythm already being a little jacked up definitely did not help. However, I believe these 3 keys that I'm about to share with you have really gone a long way in my sleeping health. Okay. So number 1 is, this is a big one because I love caffeine. I love coffee specifically. But number 1 is I do my very best to not have caffeine past a certain hour. And for me, that's around noon. Like I try my best not to have any caffeine past noon. Now, I am a sucker for a good cup of coffee, okay? Every morning I wake up, I read my Bible, I pray, and I have a cup of coffee. And if my time with God is really hitting hard, I might even have a second cup of coffee, okay? So I love coffee, the flavor, the temperature, the little bit of a boost of energy. It's all so encouraging. The other thing I'm a huge sucker for is after a big running effort, like a long run, I go out and maybe run 7, 10, 12 miles. I am a sucker for a premium caffeinated drink. What am I talking about? Well, right now it's fall, right? We're going into the fall actually. And I mean, after a long run, nothing hits harder than a nice pumpkin spice latte or a pumpkin cold brew from Starbucks. I mean, oh my goodness. And I live in Northwest Atlanta where, guys, the coffee vibes out here, the coffee shop vibes, they're epic, okay? However, I got to be careful, okay? I got to be very careful because if I keep ingesting caffeine past 12 p.m., studies have shown that caffeine can stay in your system up to 10 hours after it's been drinking, which is crazy, 10 hours. So the boundary I've set for myself is, okay, no caffeine past noon. I'd say I hold to that most of the time. There are times where I don't, but the majority of the time I hold to that. And honestly, it's been a huge help. So caffeine, all throughout the morning, I'm cool with it. But once noon hits, I try to shut down and go away from that. Secondly, the next thing that really has been helping with my sleep habits is just keeping a consistent schedule to the best of my ability. What do I mean by consistent schedule? Fighting to get up at the same time and go to bed around the same time, number one. Number two, making sure that exercise is incorporated in my life on a daily basis in some way, shape, or form. Why? Because if I exercise and I exert myself and I burn calories, then when bedtime comes later on, I'm not going to be wide awake. I'm going to be fatigued. I'm going to be tired. And I'm going to embrace the opportunity to go to sleep, and my body won't be rejecting it so much, And so while this is not always the case, sometimes I can, fall asleep and wake back up like I shared earlier. I do think keeping a fairly consistent schedule does help me a lot. Another aspect of keeping a consistent schedule is this. I don't know if there's any nap lovers out there, but for me, if I take any form of a nap after 3 p.m., it doesn't matter if it's a 5-minute nap, 10-minute nap, 30-minute, 1 hour. It doesn't matter how long the nap is. If I nap after 3 p.m., my night of rest is honestly, it's going to get pretty jacked up. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Now, there are some days where I am just absolutely exhausted. I'll take a little 5-minute power nap at whatever, 3, 4 p.m. And I do still sleep well through the night. But normally speaking, if I take a nap, it does mess up my sleeping schedule. So another part of keeping a consistent schedule is I try not to have any naps whatsoever past 3 p.m. But for those of you who know me, you know that can be challenging at times, because one of the things that helps us stay awake is stimulant through our eyes, what we see, okay? So sometimes when I'm in a car and the music's turned up and it's 5 p.m. and I've had a long day and, there's no talking, it is super easy for me to just knock out. But I need to be super vigilant about that because it can really mess up my night of sleep, okay? So that's number 2. Finally, the third thing is this. I have this supplement that I bought recently. I'm going to show it to you guys. I don't actually even know what it's called, but I'm going to kind of spin it around here so you guys can see it. But funny story about this supplement. It's made up of all natural ingredients, lemon balm powder. I think there's like some tart cherry powder in there and a few other things. I went to a supplement shop a few months ago, and the guy that worked there asked me, hey, how good is your sleep habits? And I told him, I was like, man, honestly, like most of the time they're great. But there are times, maybe for a week or two, every couple of months, where I struggle. It is a battle. And he hands me this little package, like this little sample of this stuff right here. And he said, dude, go home. 36 minutes actually, 36 minutes before you go to bed, I want you to put this powder in some water, drink it, and about 30 minutes later, you're going to start feeling your body start to tingle. And at that point, I was a little sketchy. I'm like, body tingle. I don't know. But then he's like, no, trust me on this. But right around 36 minutes, you're going to knock out. And I was like, oh, baby, what in the world is this guy giving me? So anyways, I took the sample. I looked it up. I saw that it was all natural ingredients. And I was like, you know what? Let me go for it. So boom, that night, I put it in about 4 ounces of water, mixed it up, drank it, laid in bed. My wife and I, we were talking, ending out our day. And about 30 minutes after I drank it, my whole body starts tingling. And I was like, honey, I don't feel too good. And she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, honestly, I don't know. I'm just, my whole body is tingling. And not even joking, guys, 6 minutes later, I was gone. And I woke up about 6.5 hours later, 7 hours later, just so refreshed, so rejuvenated, and feeling incredibly well. Okay, so this supplement on days where I know it might be challenging to sleep, I go ahead and take it, and man, it has been super awesome. Now, one trick about this that I learned is this. I try to take this as best as I can, not on a full stomach, okay? Not meaning it has to be on a completely empty stomach, but when I take this on a full stomach, it doesn't work as well in my experience. But when I've had a lighter dinner and I'm taking it around 10:30 p.m. and you know my stomach's not totally full, I take it and it works like a charm. But when my stomach is full and I take it, what I notice, it doesn't work quite as well. I'm not totally sure why. Maybe there's some science behind that. But this supplement right here has been a lifesaver for my sleeping patterns, especially when traveling abroad and struggling with jet lag. And so yeah, I just wanted to stop in and tell you guys a little bit about that battle. I mean, as some of you guys know, when we lack sleep, we are simply not ourselves, okay? So for me, when I struggle with sleep, man, I get irritable, I can get upset easily, I can lash out, feel a lot of crazy emotions. And so for me, I've just learned that, man, I got to really fight to prioritize the daily habits that are going to help me to have an incredible night of sleep despite my circadian rhythm, my internal clock, being a little thrown off at times. And so, you know, I'm excited for my next video, guys. I'm going to give you an update on my marathon training journey. We are about 8 weeks out from the New York City Marathon. I do want to ask you, please like this video, subscribe, stay tuned for some lifestyle content on how I live my life as a blind minister, blind athlete, a blind husband, and a blind soon-to-be father. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. See you in the next one.